It's writer's block, the thing that scares authors the most. Halloween might be over, but writer's block comes to haunt all authors. So here are my tips on how to minimize your chances of getting writer's block. Let's get into it. Alright, so my very first tip is something that my dad actually told me and I kind of thought about, and this is a more elaborate explanation of it, but think of your creativity as a battery, like a battery on a phone. You're going to want to keep your battery fully charged at all times. So once you sit down and you write, you're using up part of your creative battery, and if you're like me, you can write hundreds of pages, you can sit down and write for 10 hours. Should you sit down and write for 10 hours? No, you don't want to use your entire creative battery at once. The more you use up your creative battery, the longer it's going to take to refill. So what you want to do is use it gradually. Have a specific amount of pages that you want to write per day, and don't push yourself past that limit. For me, that's 10 pages. For some authors, it's 2 or 3 or even 1. It really just depends on what you're writing and what is going to be realistic for you that particular day. The more you write and the more you drain your creative battery, the longer it's going to take for you to fill up that creative battery. So what I do is I take breaks in between to refill my creative battery, and I do things that I know will refill my creative battery and will give me more ideas so I can write more later, and I try to save that energy. If you keep on draining your creative battery day after day, you're gonna find yourself stressed and burnt out, and that's not good or healthy, and you don't want to do that. For instance, I write about 10 pages a day, and then I go outside, I do something, I listen to music, I watch a show, I take a snack break, I see a friend, I do something else that's gonna recharge my creative battery, and then I'll come back to my work feeling more rested and I'll have more ideas. And here's another thing that I also do to kind of make sure that I always have an idea for the next day. If I'm finishing up my writing session for a day and I have one more idea, I'll write the title of it down. I'll write down a few like bullet points of kind of the concept, but I'll leave it and I'm not gonna write it, because usually towards the end of your writing session, your ideas are less developed and less thought through. So if you can kind of leave what you have, but not kind of finalize it and actually put it together. If you leave some bullet points and you leave some blank spaces, then usually the next day when your creative battery is more full, you'll be able to write that idea and it'll become even better. So if I'm finishing up a writing session, I've already written 10 pages, but I have an idea for one more poem, I'll write down the title, write down some lines that I had in mind, and then the next day I'll come back and I'll put it all together. And that's just something that's really helped me, especially since I have the tendency to just sit down and write for hours on end and burn myself out and drain my creative battery, and then get writer's block and not be able to write for like months. So that's something that's really helped me if I visualize my creativity as a battery and I don't use it all the way and I take time to mentally recharge. This is kind of a simple one, but books, movies, and music that inspire you. I always listen to music while I write. It's just something that I do. Even music with words sometimes. I know that a lot of authors don't do that and they'll find themselves just writing down the lyrics of the songs, but I don't know why. If I'm listening to a song that matches my mood, I find that my writing is usually a lot better. That's just something that helps me. But, do things that inspire you. Read books that are similar to your genre or not similar to your genre. Like, I write poetry, but I don't just read poetry. I read a lot of poetry, but I also really like dark romance, fantasy, romance in general, really. And I love classics as well. But, read genres that are going to inspire you. Watch movies that are gonna make you more creative, and honestly just taking that time to recharge. I find that even for my books, I make Pinterest boards for my books. I just put down like images of the aesthetic that I want, because for me, like the aesthetic of my books is really important, because I want each one to stand out and I want each of my books to have their own specific look to them. Not just in cover design, but just like so you can mentally paint a picture. So I find that that's really good. And then music, I have a writing playlist. It's like, I think 14 hours long, but I listen to music while I write, and I have a really long playlist. So those are just some things that help me recharge and have more ideas. I know that as authors, we are glued to a screen, a notebook, whatever you're using to write, but real life experiences. You cannot just live in your book. As much as I would want to live in one of the books that I'm writing, I cannot live in that. So have real life experiences. Go hang out with friends, because who knows, maybe you'll get some inspiration while you're hanging out. Sometimes I have to force myself to interact with people because while I am extroverted, sometimes I get in these states of mind where I'm just so like, I'm like hunched over my computer like a little gremlin in my dark little cave, and I just don't talk to people. But I try to call someone every day after I have a writing session, and it kind of once again helps me mentally recharge, and it helps me prevent that writer's block because you're not burning yourself out. And I know that writer's block might not be always necessarily related to burnout. Maybe you just don't know what to write. But once again, watching movies, listening to music, reading books that are going to inspire you are really good. And I say that write down all of your ideas, even the dumb ones. Even if you're just like, what if I wrote a chapter on polka dots? What if I wrote this? Like, even the dumb ideas, it can always form into something. Just allow yourself like a few minutes a day where you just, I call it like goofball time, where I just kind of have this separate document where I write down all of my stupid ideas, and a lot of them actually become actual poems or actual ideas. My book Life, Wife, Knife started as that. It started as a goofball idea, and then it actually formed into something that I published. A lot of my books have started that way. But just write down something stupid, take some time where you just like goof off and go like, oh, well, what if I wrote about this? Or like, this is so stupid. What if I wrote about this? Or what if I said this? Like, just kind of going through all of those what ifs, because I find that even if it's silly and it might seem stupid, you can always morph it into something that you can actually write about and publish. So even the stupid ideas deserve their time to shine. Take more breaks than you need. Oh my gosh, I am the queen of sitting at my computer for hours a day and not taking any breaks and writing hundreds of pages and then feeling burnt out, and then it just sends me through a whole spiral, and then I get writer's block, and then everything's awful, and then the world hates me. Take more breaks than you need. Write 5 pages, take a 5-minute break. Write 5 pages, take a 5-minute break. Just, you don't need to spend as much time writing as you think you will. If you're writing consistently, you don't need to write hundreds of pages a day. If you write a page a day, that's fine. Like, you will get the book done. If you're writing consistently, you will get the book done. Don't worry about your page count. I worry about my page count way too much. I freak out about my page count every single time. And honestly, it's not that good. Worry more about the quality of the story. I do measure how much I write in pages because that's what I use Google Docs, so that's the easiest way for me to measure. But yeah, don't stress about your page count. So those are my best tips on how to prevent writer's block. I know it's a horrifying thing. I know the writer's block is the scariest thing to all authors, but I promise you, you got this. Me and ZB will see you guys later. Bye.